Hi, T. Carlson here. We're continuing coverage of the Beatles catalog today. Today I'm going to rank every song on their 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is often considered to be the best album in the Beatles catalog, one of the greatest albums of all time. I don't know that I fully agree with that. There's probably a few other Beatles albums I'd put before this, but that's a story for another day. Today we're just ranking the songs on the album. There are 13 tracks on this record, and let's get started. At number 13, I have Within You, Without You. This was George Harrison's sole composition on the album, and again, kind of similar to Love You 2 on Revolver. It's one of those really heavy, ethnic, Indian-type tracks. Well, I certainly admire George's vision. These tracks never really made for the best pop songs, so I do have to put this one at the bottom of the list on the Sgt. Pepper album. At number 12, I have the reprise of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it's just what it says it is. It's a reprise of the opening track on the album, sort of serving as an intro to A Day in the Life. This one would score higher on the list if it wasn't so brief and basically relegated to intro status. At 11, I have Fixing a Hole. This is Paul McCartney getting a little adventurous and giving us a pretty interesting tune. I don't think it's ever going to top anyone's favorite Beatles songs list, but it's certainly a good one and one I think is worth revisiting. Number 10, I have She's Living Home. Another Paul McCartney tune, this one being a moody ballad of sorts, but a very well done one, and an excellent underrated track from Sir Paul. At number 9, I have Getting Better. This is sort of an energetic electric guitar, upbeat pop rocker, and one that I think, once again, is a pretty well done track. From here on out, most of the tracks on the album are actually pretty solid, and this one is, despite being fairly low, a personal favorite. At number 8, I have When I'm 64. This was recorded as a joke song because, of course, the guys in the Beatles were in their 20s at the time. Who would have thought Paul McCartney would still be performing live on stage well into his 80s? What once was a joke is hardly a joke anymore. It's a goofy little novelty song, but I can't help but laugh every time I hear this one, and I mean that in a good way. At number 7, I have Good Morning, Good Morning. This one of John Lennon's tracks, just kind of an upbeat mixture of electric pop and rock, and of course it'll forever be known for its intro with the bird crowing. But beyond that, again, it rocks pretty good and it's a solid track. And of course, the first line of this song would be eerily prolific given what would eventually happen to John Lennon. Then we have at number 6, Lovely Rita. Nobody ever talks about Lovely Rita, but I absolutely love this song. It's a pop song from Paul, but it's not like all the others. I mean, it's an interesting tale of love between a man and a meter maid, of all things, but it never comes off feeling like a joke. It feels like a pretty genuine tune, and it's catchy despite that. Number 5 on the album, I have the opening cut, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The album is often considered to be the first ever concept album, and that's debatable, but this is one of the things left over from when there would have been a concept, because it serves as sort of an intro primer for the album with sort of a mock concert going on in the background. And it's a great way of kicking off the album. It's a fairly short track, but it certainly rocks. Some of those guitar riffs on this song are amongst the band's best. At number 4, I have Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. John Lennon basically got the lyrics for this one from a circus poster from the 19th century, and he made a very eccentric, very psychedelic song around it, and it's an interesting tune to say the least. I mean, I don't think enough people talk about Mr. Kite, but it's a great tune that I think merits a revisit. At number 3, I have With a Little Help from My Friends. Every Beatles album, it seems like, has to have the obligatory song with Ringo singing. In the case of Sgt. Pepper, that would be With a Little Help from My Friends. One of the all-time great pop songs. Of course, Joe Cocker would cover this and also have a major hit with it in his own right, but I still think the Beatles' original is the best version. Number 2, I have A Day in the Life. This is one of the most epic and progressive of all Beatles tracks, and it's the perfect way to close out this album. I mean, most of the song, of course, is sung by John Lennon, revealing some of the things that he'd seen in a day in his life, just as this title dictates. But then there's also a bridge section sung by Paul about a man scrambling to get out the door in time for work. And those sections are divided by orchestral climaxes. And in my opinion, this is one of the greatest songs the Beatles ever recorded, and yet it's still only number 2 on my list here. My pick for the number 1 song on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This is another John song, and of course, the origins of the title are greatly debated. I'm not going to get into that here, but as far as these combinations of psychedelic rock and pop rock go, I don't think you can do any better than Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. In my opinion, it's the top track on the Sgt. Pepper album. And there we come to the end. Where do you rank Sgt. Pepper in the Beatles catalog? What's your favorite track on the album? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.